Good evening, my friends. How's it going today? I'm out in the front yard here. We have this bird nest up here in the bush, but I won't show that because I don't have a chair right now. But I'll show my beautiful yucca plant. The yucca flowers are awesome. I actually hadn't even noticed this was blooming until I just walked out here and looked. Considering we live in the Pacific Northwest, keeping a yucca plant alive is a challenge, but here's my cat, Callie. And there's my delicious hammock. So the reason I came out here to make a video was, well, pretty simple, I guess. So I had something to talk about. And of course I'm not going to be able to get into the detail that I really wanted to on this video. Hi, kitty. Yeah. I wanted to get more into a very specific subject about something called, well, the word I'm discussing here is liminal. Liminal is the word of the day here. It's the state right before or right between two extremes. So when you're on the precipice of change, the word comes from limin, which is the threshold of something. So the idea of liminal is it's the threshold of becoming or changing or doing something, whether it be a new job, something, political change. It could be right when you're going to war as a country and you're not one thing or another, but you're too far past one point to remain where you were. And not quite what you're going to be yet. Liminal is, I made a video about this, I don't know, maybe last year or sometime, and I remember discussing it, but I thought today I would make one more specific to kind of joking around about exactly what this means to why it's such a fantastic way to be. Liminal people, rather, liminality isn't actually a word, I don't believe, nor is, liminary. I think I had a couple words that I came up with that just didn't exist, but they made total sense to me. Get out of the road, kitty, there's cars coming. Dumb cats. Liminal, okay, where was I? Here, we've got... Don't want to lose track, and I don't want to start this video again. I was watching a video earlier where somebody was talking about this in the sense of, I've heard it defined a few different ways. One is multi-potentialite, and I think that that's a little too cumbersome to use as a term. Multi-potentialite is another way of saying jack of all trades. So, liminal is another way of saying that you're basically the kind of person who's going between thing to thing to thing and doesn't settle. And the reason I'm discussing this, so I can get to the root of the point of it all, is in our society we're told that we need to follow one particular set of standards and become something. We've heard it since we were kids, the idea of becoming something, being great, whatever it might be. And it doesn't even have to be great, but finding your niche, if you will, and figuring out where you fit in. And people get themselves trapped into a reality where they really think that they have to do the same thing for the rest of their life, or be the same type of person for the rest of their life, as if they're defined by a set of standards that says, well, once you're a certain age, that's what you are. And although it sounds preposterous, this is how billions, not millions, but billions of people live. I mean, we have 7 billion people on this planet, and by the ratio of people that I've met and talked to in my life personally, I find that at least a decent percentage of people tend to be stuck in this reality that they're trapped in their own reality, that they're trapped in their paradigm, that they can't escape their fate, that where they're at in their life is how it is. I've met people that are 30 years old who say, oh, well, can't change it now. This is who I am. And it's preposterous to me. I'm 42 years old, and I'm constantly in flux. I'm constantly shifting my ideas, my theories, my feelings. And it's really funny because it's starting to reflect in how I'm perceived in my own mind by, let's just say myself, I guess, my own self-judgment. Because let's give you an example. If you write a book and it's a huge life changer for you, you find some, huge discovery, and you write a book about it. And I'm sure many authors would agree with this, but maybe not admit it as much, that within a decade you start to disagree with your own work, that you think, oh God, how could I have been so short-sighted or not understood this or that? We're our own worst critic, but our own best critic too. And we look at the things that we've written in the past and think, wow, okay, well, I need to do better. And that's what keeps people going. I mean, nothing's ever finished. We're always growing, and that's the hope. But some people take it very, they can't handle it, so they stick with one paradigm, and they follow one train of thought. People who say, well, write dozens of books or make dozens of movies, all based on the same premise with all the same information and supposed facts that are not, even if they're not backed by any reality, people will stick with it. And even if new ideas come about, they will stick with it, because changing our paradigms requires admitting that we were wrong at one time. For a lot of people, that's very difficult. So, the different types of people, there are some people who are just set up to be a one-trick pony, if you will. Let me say, the kind of person who can take a job when they're 18 years old as in a warehouse, processing something on an assembly line, and do that for the next 40, 50 years of their life, and not mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like they should look around and say, oh, I should desire more. If you don't desire more and that works for you, so be it. But the thing society needs to realize is those of us who are liminal, who are multi-potentialites, who are thinkers, whatever that we may be, different philosophies and different ideas, we have to realize that people like us also need to be incorporated into society. That we cannot be forced to cram ourselves into a box and delude ourselves into thinking that we really need to, be trapped. If you feel trapped by anything in your life, then it's time to take a deep look at it. God, this is perfect, because today, actually, after I made a video earlier talking about how I do things my way, and I'm kind of a lone wolf, and it is the way it is, Basically, my attitude is, if you don't like it, then fuck off. If you have something to say about it that's constructive and you want to discuss it, so be it. Let's do it. Because I'm not a closed-minded person. I'm open to everything, but I just get tired of trying to explain myself to people that are irrelevant to me. And as harsh as that sounds, it doesn't really matter. I don't care. And then I turned on TED Talks earlier, and the video title was it's called How to Not Give a Fuck. And this lady was up there, I don't know, she was this girl about in her 30s. She was talking about how she tried to climb the corporate ladder and did all these things that she didn't want to do, and finally one day decided, I'm not going to give a fuck anymore. And she goes on to explain her story. And what she means isn't that she doesn't care about anything anymore, but that she stopped trying to block her own true feelings about things, to be honest. And in the sense, that also means to be able to just say no. Like, let's say somebody asks you to do something, you just say, no, I don't want to do that, I'm not interested. And it seems like the more we try to justify ourselves, the more we look like the asshole. And people know that, and they will push and pry. And I know people in my life who have done that to me and to others, that, if they don't like the answer you've given, then they'll pry until you look like a fool in trying to explain yourself. It's okay to just say, no, I don't need to explain it. This is who I am. In other words, this will pass. People will live. We will all get by. And if people want to look at you like an asshole, then so be it. And that's what she was saying. It's okay, because people are going to look at you like an asshole anyway if they want to. It doesn't matter. True friends understand where you're coming from. It's not about saying, no, I'm not going to do anything for anybody. It's just about saying, I'm going to pick and choose how I want to live my life in every single facet, and not be forced into some social paradigm where people try to tell each other how to live and what their values are. And there's no man on earth who can tell me my values. But there were times when I listened to other people and their values to try to understand what moves other people, and hoping that will move me, or at least give me a better perspective of the world around me, so I can partake in it better, more efficiently, express myself better with those people around me, instead of feeling, like I'm kind of in my own world. We all seek approval in one state or another, one frame or another, one form or another, from our peers. I'm not going to say all of us, because there's somebody out there who's probably saying, well, I don't seek any approval or care. Well, if that's true, then so be it. Good for you. But I would say to look honestly within and say, it's not about seeking approval for approval's sake. It's about seeking approval to see if we're complete jerks or not. If we're deluding ourselves, If everybody's telling us that we're doing something wrong, maybe we should consider that. But some people take that different approach. Everyone has their own, way to deal with it. And some people who are liminal type people, who are multi-potentials, and people who have many different interests, these are the kind of people who jump from thing to thing, like me. And if you're always told, well, that's not the way to be, and you believe it, well, you can get depressed, anxious. And we don't deserve to be depressed or anxious. Fucking A, you deserve to be happy. You, as a fucking human, deserve to be happy. And I really mean that. All of us do. And sometimes we really don't stop to think of that simple, obvious fact. Whatever you can do to increase your happiness, do it, if it doesn't come at the cost of others. But often we sacrifice happiness because we don't want to be embarrassed, because we don't want to seem like a jerk, we don't want to seem rude. Even if we're not seeming rude or a jerk at all, even if it's not affecting other people, because we have this image of how we should be, and that's portrayed and placed on us, and it's very hard to shake. Even as an individual, I get trapped into these realities. We all do. I guess a good example would be Manly P. Hall. He's one of the greatest speakers I've ever listened to. He's one of the most phenomenal. I'm not going to call him a philosopher. I'm going to call him a historian and he's many things. He understands religion. He understands history. He's not a philosopher, though, in many regards. And this took me years to realize, because I was phenomenally, into his work, because it taught me so much. But I found myself getting caught up with the, dragging the cobwebs as I'm walking through the forest of his work. Some of the things that just don't resonate with me, like the idea that heavy metal music is, evil in some regard, or somehow a bad thing, and these different ideas that I won't even go into detail, because I've listened to hundreds of hours of his work. And if you know Manly Hall, you do, and if you don't, you don't. But he's a kind of a old man stickler type, he's got a stick up his ass all the time. And I can say that lovingly, because the guy moved me and taught me so much about understanding. But it's because I wasn't attached to the idea of the man presenting it. For me, it was all about the information, and I could wade through it myself without allowing it all to absorb and have to take it as all fact and literal, and I feel like it's the same way that people are with the Bible or any religious book. I'm pretty much appalled by religion, but I don't like to say as much, because I'm not appalled by the people who believe it. I'm just appalled by what it's done to people to divide us, to really think that we are more righteous than another person. If you believe that your God is better than another person's, then you're completely full of shit. That's all I can say. Because if you truly believe in good, in the sense of what God would be, real or not, you have to accept that all religions are equal if they harm none. And I'm not talking about the extremists, but if you're a Christian who thinks that, Muslims need to be wiped out, then you're not, your religion's complete bullshit in that sense. This goes for Muslims that feel the same way about Christians. I know that there are moderate Muslims and Christians, and I know that, say, terrorists are the minimal group, but they get portrayed as the extremists being the whole religion, and this happens with Christianity too. Because I know many Christians and have Christian friends that are, I'm totally cool with. You're welcome to believe whatever you like, but it doesn't mean that I have to pretend like I believe it, or that it's okay, because I'm honest about those things. But, it's because I believe that we need to be stronger than this. We need to move past archetypes, symbols, figureheads, especially idols, because idol worship is what got us into this mess in the first place. And it's what created this narrow path for humans to believe that we really can't be liminal, that we can't just go out and express ourselves. And to complete what I was saying about Manly Hall, it's just saying that now I don't necessarily believe all the things that I used to believe, and many of the things I learned listening to him were things that I just put tentatively in my mind and said, this is interesting, but is it true? And to give you an example, one would be reincarnation, something that never really fully took hold in my mind. There's the afterlife, and then there's the idea of reincarnation. Some people believe that we die, and then we decide what we're going to do in our next lives, or that we're paying in this life for a past life. But really, I'm well aware of all the different stories, and I don't want to go into that because that's not what this is about. But all I can say is that every time I want to believe something, I ask myself, why do I want to believe this? And usually it's because I want to carry on my consciousness as this person. And coming to terms with the reality that me as this person will not exist one day is the most freeing and rewarding thing. And that combined with just letting go and saying, hey, I don't give a fuck, in the right way, while still having loved ones and family and friends around that you care about and care about you, you're doing all right, if you can pull that off. And I think we all deserve to be happy. So, hopefully you're happy. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks for listening for what it's worth.